Welcome to this episode of the Strong Kind Podcast. This episode is with Ian Seguin. Ian is a powerlifting coach and a powerlifter. He's been powerlifting for over a decade competitively. He's a very good powerlifter. He's also a good coach. I actually worked with Ian a few years ago. Would highly recommend Ian as a powerlifting coach. He also is going through a few injuries right now. He has a meniscal problem that is affecting his ability to powerlift in the way he wants, and that sucks. And that was what a lot of the conversation revolved around on this episode. We talked about setbacks. We talked about long-term training and the journey of being an athlete and whatever endeavor you pursue. And we just talked about training for life and finding meaning and purpose in a lot of the endeavors that we have chosen to partake in. Really great conversation with Ian. I highly recommend checking out. You can find Ian at Ian_adaptive on Instagram. Again, Ian's a great coach, puts out good content. And you can stay with me for more episodes just like this. Thanks so much for being here. If you are struggling with pain or injury and you want specific guidance and clear goals to help you get back to performing at your best, reach out to me at dr.dave.strengthandkindness on Instagram. Peace. All right, Ian, let's talk training and how yours has been going, I guess, if you want to start there. But Ian and I have, just full context, I've known Ian for a few years. Ian coached me for a while, definitely helped me on the powerlifting side of things. My mediocreness was brought up by Ian, which I appreciate. I'm still very mediocre. But Ian, how long have you been powerlifting?
11 years.
2015 is when you started?
2015 is when I did my first competition, yeah.
And so you started before that a little bit, obviously.
Yeah, I trained. I trained for a few years. I did normal. I played real sports like volleyball, soccer growing up. And then once I kind of stopped that, I started discovering the weight room and kind of just, did some bodybuilding stuff and then started powerlifting maybe a year or two after that.
Nice. So you've been doing it 11 years. Dude, do you have a sense for how long people actually stay in the sport? So I don't really know if my grasp is that there's a lot of people who are they're into it for 3 years, right? They do it, they get relatively strong, they do a meet and then do a couple meets. They either like it or then keep doing it or they burn themselves out or but what's your sense for how long people are staying in the sport?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, based on, how long I've been coaching and, how I've seen people come and go from the sport over time, I'd say, 2 to 4 years is usually a pretty, solid, quote-unquote, powerlifting career for a lot of people. I think the main reason is, it's with anything. I was actually talking about this with my partner the other day, because she does a lot of bouldering. But essentially, any hobby we do, those first 2 to 3 years, we learn so much about whatever endeavor we're doing. The progress it's quite linear and it's quite enjoyable. So you kind of get that feedback loop, right? That you're going to constantly progress. And then what happens is obviously you spend 3-4 years, you start hitting a bit of roadblocks or you hit a few maybe plateaus or whatever, injuries. And usually what happens is it no longer becomes fun. And then usually what ends up happening is someone goes, okay, well, it's not fun, so I'm going to try something else. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, powerlifting is what you make of it, right? Some people want it to be this little fun side quest, and that's totally cool. If it gets someone a barbell in their hands, that's amazing. And maybe they do some other stuff. But typically, 2 to 4 years, I think, is pretty normal. I would say that.
Yeah. I think it is one of those things. It's there's really nothing wrong with it only being 2 to 4 years, but I also think there's this humans have this weird, and I'm 100% on board with you for that 1 to 2 kind of giant dopamine hit of fast feedback loops, fast progress is we almost subconsciously want that to be the continuous experience as we continue these long-term pursuits when they're just by their nature are going to slow down, right? And then to some extent it's the people who keep with it and are almost that is what makes people exceptional. If you keep powerlifting, I don't even know. I was briefly talking about like trying to get Mike to come on this podcast, but like Mike's been doing it probably for like what, like 25 years or probably something like that. Like
Probably 25 years.
yeah,
I will say the other thing to add to this too, I think is really important is like, if you're good in the first 2 to 3 years, like you start placing high, like you're gonna get rewarded. And once you get rewarded by knowing that you're good at something, you're probably gonna keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like I find it very difficult for, I don't know, let's say I coach someone and they're 3 years into powerlifting and like they're decent, but they haven't qualified for like nationals yet. They're You kind of know that whether they're going to be elite or not within 3 to 4 years typically, because at that point in time, like you've had enough training to get under you to know that you'll be decent. And at that point, if you know, like relative to the competition, you're so far behind, like from even going to nationals, it's kind of hard for you to want to continue it, right? It's almost like if you play music and like you're absolute garbage after like 3 years, it's like it's kind of hard for you to like want to keep going, right? But like for me at least, like I mean, by year 4, like I was quite good. Like I was, top 5 as a junior, like at nationals, top 3 sometimes. Like there was like motivation because it's like I knew I was good at it, but honestly, like, if I wasn't good at it, like I feel like I don't think I would do it, to be honest. Like I think that's something that anything that you're good at, like you want to pursue, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it is like one of those things. Well, I also do think there's like we're in the age of it's very easy to compare where you're at to other people, more so than it was, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But the sports have you like the sport of powerlifting, even the sport of like really any of these like physical fitness sports have boomed in the past like 20 years, right? So what's kept you doing it?
I think a huge component is like obviously like I coach for a living, and coaching powerlifters, like it's kind of like for me, like because I have a career out of it, I think it's a lot easier to stay in because I get to, let's say during a season like where I'm like injured or something, I have a clients I can coach through and solve problems and be able to like have fun that way. So I feel like I have a lot of like just, I think my life surrounds it a lot, so it's pretty easy for me to stay in it. Whereas if I didn't have a career as a powerlifting coach or like I didn't do coaching, I'm not sure if I actually would stick in it, to be honest. Like it's I can see myself going both sides. I can see myself taking breaks or whatever, but I feel like the fact that I coach, it's like the more I'm in the trenches, the more I learn from my own experiences and I'm able to apply that to my clients. So I feel a sense of like wanting to continue. I think the other aspect is I like to see things through. And I know that like with powerlifting, there will be a point in time where like I'll kind of know to like quote unquote hang it up and maybe like pivot towards something different. But I think, I mean, I'm at current age, like I'm like 28, right? Like I'm not like that old, right? Like I'm still young. So for me, it's like, I'd say like from now until, I mean, people peak their strength in their 40s sometimes, right? So for me, it's like whenever I find myself just really just resenting the sport and not liking it or not enjoying it, like I can see myself moving on. But I just think I have untapped like potential left, or I have future gains I want to see through. And I think I also tell my clients a lot of times that like powerlifting tends to be a vehicle for like life, right? Like life is gonna slap you across the face. It's gonna give you some obstacles, and like instead of diverting it, I think it's good to see it through, right? And be able to see like how far you can push your body. Because again, we got one life, and I kind of want to see like what can this body do long term, and then wherever that happens.
What do you like the people who are like maybe protective of their body, right? Because like we're gonna get into your knee, and you're giving me shit because we've known each other and we've been going back and forth, and like I've honestly been trying to get you. I've been thinking about having you on like a pod again and talking, but then I see your story about your just like your knees giving you, you have some meniscal issues going on, and it sucks. And you're like, yeah, Dave, you have me on when I'm at my low type of thing, but like this is, man, I'm gonna be honest. I like did sprints yesterday. It was really fun, but like it's crazy how that like shit cooked me, and I I don't feel good today. Like I'm sore, and like and I got a 1.5-year-old, and it's just like there is this element of like this stuff is good for me, right? But like the stuff where the level where it's like it would just feel good. like, you know, I'm just training to feel good is not like how I like to try, right? Like I like to actually try to push my body, which often means there are some like repercussions, right? Like you're gonna get more sore, you're gonna like tweak some stuff, you know. But like there's also just this camp of people who are like, yeah, well, why do you do that type of thing? And it's like, well, because like F it, like I'm not like just here to exist, right? And but it is hard to find. I don't even know if calling it a balance is thing, but like how hard to push versus how hard to not push. I think like that's one of the ultimate things that a lot of physical culturists, you know, struggle with. Like, you know, everybody likes the feeling of doing the stuff, especially like when it's going well, right? And then when it's not going well, you're almost trying to like force it back into going well again, right?
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. I mean, like, I think with anything, like, if you're going to do a sport, like, there are inherent risks with anything you do. And, like, you can't accept the highs without the lows. So, for example, like, the records, the podium finishes, the PRs, like, being strong as ever, right? Like, relative to the general population, like, I'm very strong, which is cool. But also part of that is, like, I'm going to get hurt. And, like, that's the inevitable of it, right? And I think like the biggest thing, like, and we could go into it a bit further, but like it's just seasons of life, like being able to divert that energy differently. So like when I'm not in a performance era, it's like, oh, I can work more on my business, or I can work more with my clients and really double down on like what they need and like grow in that sense, and then kind of just, you know, do what I have to do to get better and improve. But like it is what it is, right? Like a lot of people were like, when I was at nationals, they're like, oh, like so sorry to hear about your knee, and I'm like, it's all good, man. Like it's kind of just part of the game. Like it happened. Yeah. It is what it is. Like what am I gonna like? Obviously, there's moments where I'm like, damn, this kind of sucks. But I mean, that's injuries. I mean, go to the NBA. People tear their ACL. They're out for a whole season. Like
yeah.
And they're the best players in the world. So like, why can't I or someone else come back from those things by just being a little bit, you know, deliberate and focused with the rehab? So
yeah. That's like it's a very good point. Like, you know, it's. I was just thinking before this, it's like, in a lot of ways, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Like, in so many ways. Like, you know, you start a business, like, for powerlifting, and there's going to be people in your life who are like, yeah, you shouldn't do that because, like, who know, like, do you know that's going to work out? It's like, well, you don't freaking know. But, like, do I really want to be, you know, and this is nothing against accountants. I just didn't want to be an accountant. Like, do I really want to be an accountant right now? Like, I know a lot of accountants, like this is tax season in the States. Ian's from Canada. I don't know. When do your taxes due, Ian? Are they
in April 30th.
Yeah, so it's the same. All right. But like there's a lot of accountants right now hating their lives, right? Stressed out and burnout and fatigued and whatnot. And like, yeah, those things just often come from the physical pursuits and a lot of the things that we're doing. And yeah, like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like there's always going to be people who are like, you know, somewhat critical. When it comes to, I also think part of human compassion is to like feel bad for you that like you got hurt. It sucks, but it's also like, yeah, you know, at some point something's gonna happen, and you learn a lot. You learn a lot as a coach when the bad shit, quote unquote, or the injuries stack up, or having some compassion and some empathy and whatnot for people. And also, I just think for you, like. There are coaches that are almost like, I would maybe call them like clout coaches, who it's like they stop competing. Like there's a guy at this, like the local powerlifting circuit, kind of where I go and coach some of my local lifters, and like it's clear he has not like trained in like 15 years, and he's talking about like his heyday type of stuff, and it's like, dude, like I know maybe you don't want to show yourself looking like weak or whatever, but like that's part of the game, is just continuing to train for a long time and like, you know, doing what you can do and like showing up and showing people, like even if you're not as strong as you once were, it's still good for you to like physically train. And the other thing we've talked about in the past too is just it's okay to have other outlets for periods of time. Like climbing seems like a great freaking outlet. The problem with climbing is it seems really freaking addicting, and you do the exact same thing where you just like go and do it 6 days a week and whatnot. And same thing with other sports. Like a year ago, like I was playing basketball 2 to 3 times a week, and that was really fun and addicting. And then I rolled my ankle really, really bad, and that sucked. But it's like I wouldn't change anything for the world, right? So All right, let's talk about your knee. How long has it been going on? How frustrating is it for you?
So basically, like what happened was it's kind of funny actually. Like I didn't actually hurt it, but like it hurt itself after, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I had some previous like hip kind of like wonkiness, like kind of hip shift stuff, and that led to like some discomfort in my right side. And I was doing some rehab, correcting it, and things were actually like improving quite a bit. And then I like loaded up a bit more weight than I probably should have, to be honest. And like I think what happened was the rehab exercises were allowing me to load my left leg a lot better, but because my left leg wasn't taking a lot of the load before, because I was so like reliant on the right side, I took like 240 kilos for a single. I hit it. I think I heard like a pop, but I just came up with it. Like it was almost like I buckled and then I came to the top, re-racked it. I was like, oh, that moved great. Like I'm feeling good, whatever. 24 hours later, I woke up and like I just couldn't bend my knee like at all, like not even like a little bit. And I didn't even know it was like meniscus, to be honest, for the first 4 to 6 weeks. And honestly, the biggest thing for the audience is that like it's probably good to get assessed, but like it kind of doesn't change the treatment plan to an extent. But essentially how it happened is like I heard it, whatever. I was like, damn, my knee's not feeling too good right now. And then my knee like swelled up like crazy. Like it was very big, very swollen. If I stood for any length of period of time, my knee would just blow up in terms of swelling because of the fluid. So I was trying to figure out, oh, is it like quad tendon? Is it patellar tendon? Is it meniscus? Is it this? Blah, 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 whatever. Every week I was just training around it and just doing what I can in terms of like what I can handle. And then by the time I got to 6 weeks post, I was like, we're at nationals and there's a physio there. And I'm like, hey, like, do you mind just kind of like taking a look at my knee? I think it's meniscus. And based on the interpretation, I think it's like a stable one because I don't get a lot of locking or like hardcore like catching. But it definitely like deep hip flexion, deep knee bend. I can't even do body weight without feeling like pain for 6 weeks post. And essentially, short notice, she tested it, just did like some basic clinical testing just to see like what was up. She goes, yeah, it honestly seems like it's probably meniscus. And even if it's not exactly meniscus, it doesn't really matter. It's more I wanted to confirm that the current treatment plan I was trying to do on my own was actually like the right one, which essentially comes down to like quad strength, hamstring strength, a lot of like isometrics, and like simply just working with the range of motion you can do without pain. And then obviously as the meniscus heals, you're able to load deeper hip flexion.
Yeah.
So the current plan literally is just like I do leg extensions 3 days a week, 4 days a week, give or take, Spanish squats 3 to 4 days a week with like just literally body weight. I just try to get a pump and then do some isometric work. And then I squat to the depth I can handle in a day, which usually is like 70 degrees. And yeah, it's been like 8 weeks, and usually meniscus tears, even if they're stable, they take like 3, 4, 5 months. Like they take a while. Like it's a pretty slow healing process because apparently the blood flow supply in the meniscus isn't great. And I think it is more lateral, but again, it doesn't really affect the treatment plan, if that makes sense. And surgery was never on the cards because I knew if it doesn't catch or it doesn't like feel like a slap tear, there's just no point in getting it done. And then I did my own research and figured out that a lot of basketball players that they did like MRIs and research, like a lot of it was asymptomatic tears. So a tear to me doesn't mean anything in terms of like being scared, which I think the audience should really know. Like meniscus tears are fine. There's actually nothing wrong with them. It's just I need to manage my pain, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm trying to do. So the diagnosis wasn't necessarily like needed, but it just confirmed that like at least the treatment plan I'm doing is like not going to make it worse, right?
Yeah.
Because there's some injuries where physios tell you load into the pain a bit, like just a little bit. With a meniscus tear, you really kind of want to like you could ease into it a little bit, but you don't want to put too much compression because then like you could obviously make things worse. So yeah. That's the summary of my my quote unquote tear investigation.
Yeah, I think so much of actual rehab is like learning to manage and like follow the symptoms and like there's like diagnostic stuff is useful, like because we do kind of want to see if there is any like you can clarify between that being like a tendon being the issue, right, or like meniscal tissue is. It's not like tendons are being elongated, muscles are being stretched and contracted type of thing, Where meniscus is really like it's there to manage like compression, like joint forces type of thing, right? And yeah, it's like that. I think that's one of the hard things for people. It's like, well, if I know what it is, will that help? And I think yes, but also the treatment often doesn't really change that much. It is just kind of how much do you go into symptoms? Like, we're seeing more and more. I follow more and more people who are like getting into tendinopathy rehab or talking more about tendinopathy rehab. And like, to be honest, like my very 10,000 foot view is like tendinopathies suck because they just take a freaking long time. Even if you're doing things right, they take a long time, right? Even like a meniscus, like you said, you're probably doing a pretty good job. It's still gonna take like 6 months to a year before your knee fucking feels really good, right? Like, or hopefully, right? And there might be still waxes and wanes in how it feels. I know so I tore mine. I think I tore mine before I was working with you. I tore it, and I definitely tweaked it. I honestly didn't have like diagnostic testing either. I like assessed it myself. My wife is like this, yeah, and it's like I didn't have catching or locking, but I definitely had when I had like compressive stuff. It would swell up, and running actually helped, dude. It was like one of the things that like just dosing up my running may help my knee, but yeah, you just have to listen to symptoms and be patient. So much of the rehab world, I think, is we're gonna fix your shit as fast as possible, and that's not how most of this stuff works, right?
Yeah. Well, the other big one is like biking. Like I bike every day.
Yeah.
Because like biking just gets the knee moving. And here's the ticker for people to know is that solely resting is terrible for meniscus injuries. So it's like people always say like fear of movement. It's like it's not fear of movement. It's just like picking. I listen to my body. If my body tells me sharp pain, like we don't do that. But if my body says like subtle little pain, I know that's hey, we're getting towards that limit. Let's calm her down. Right, and then let's adjust, right? Because I think people are just afraid of like more tissue damage, right? And it's like that's not what's going to happen. It's just like you have to strengthen quads because again, the quads tend to get deregulated. That's what I've learned, or like it's just like you get less activation. So what you need to do is you need to activate the damn quad. So guess what's the best isolation exercise ever? Well, a TKE, leg extension, ham curls, stuff like that. And also the other thing for listeners to know is like. I just diverted my goals. My goal is like, how can I not reduce my quad size over the next 6 months? So like, if I can maintain my size, my legs, then I just have to work on the neurology, whatever, the neuro side of strength, right? Because if the muscle's there and it's still there, then it's like, oh great, I just have to work on the pattern. Which is why with squatting, like a lot of people would just be, I'm not going to squat. There's no point in squatting because I can't hit depth. But it's like, think of the neurologic adaptations you're getting by having a bar on your back. So I don't want to do it, but at least twice a week I take the bar out of the rack with whatever, 50%, and I go to what I can, and I come up, and it feels like I'm not doing anything. But I know it's keeping me,
how does that affect your ego, Ian?
I just really don't have an ego. I just think people at the gym just sometimes think I'm like some like old dude squatting high, like the classic like guy at a YMCA or a commercial gym. Yeah. But at first it was more difficult, but honestly I'm making progress like every week, so it actually almost feels like noob gains. And again, that's the reframing. Like if you reframe it to like, I have more range of motion, my quads are getting better. I'm actually able to do leg extensions now, pretty uninhibited, which is wonderful. I can push them not super hard but harder. My leg press has gone up because I do a vertical leg press, and it's like those are all markers for progress, and that's all I really care about, right? So.
Finding ways to make progress and also just like it's weird because trust the process is kind of one of those bullshit cliches because like you have to know that the process you're working is like a good process, right? But like so much of the training, like, I always kind of go back to, okay, the first thing is, like, this stuff is good for us, right? Like, so go back to that. Like, riding your bike is good for you, right? And you may not be getting amazing results, but at the end of the day, even if you're just riding the bike and it's probably good for your mental health, right? Which is just good for your health, right? But then it's just like, if the symptoms can decrease really slowly, right? Or function can come back pretty slowly, right? And you're 100% on it. Like the inhibition that like can occur after an injury because your brain and your like the descending and the ascending like, let's just call it like pathways, are kind of mucked up because it's your brain's trying to protect the piece of your body that's hurting, and it also kind of sucks to be in pain, right? So, like, I think that's the hard part about like injuries and stuff, and it's just frustrating. Like it wouldn't be a good protective mechanism if it wasn't frustrating, right? And if it wasn't like keeping you from like just hammering it, right? Like my little boy, dude, he's doing crazy shit, and it's like, all right, he's kind of got to like hurt himself a little bit to start to learn that like you can't just do that, right? And it's, as a parent, it's hard because I have to be there enough as like a buffer to not let him do anything that's really, really bad, but like he's gonna cry, like he's gonna have like he's gonna do little shit. Like he jumped off of a curb like the first time ever, and he like smoked himself, dude. But he had to learn that like I gotta like slow it down type of thing, right? And that's like kind of the same thing with a lot of us as like lifters or competitive or physical people, right?
Yeah, and I also think the big thing too, and I mentioned it in a post recently, is like, if you want to achieve exceptional things or anything or maximize your potential, like you're gonna have to go through some shit. Like that's just part of the game. Like I've never met a business owner that didn't work a bunch of hours to get their business afloat, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure in the beginning stages of your business, you put in a lot of free hours and there was no return on that investment until maybe, freaking 5 years later. Now it's like, oh, it's up and running. It's you don't have to put as much work into it because you put so much bottom end work, right? Or bottom up work. It's the same thing with like training. It's like, dude, like how can you expect to be good without having setbacks or like things that are bad happening? Like it's going to happen, right? Like look at life. I don't think I've ever had a linear like everything's just great. All I have is positivity, and it's like, no, there's gonna be some shit, right? Like,
yeah.
How is training different, right? Like
training is a really good analogy for life, because it's like, like you said, even the people who are going to continue after the 3 to 4 year mark, and this isn't to say they probably have some amount of I'm good at this and I really enjoy that part of it, but even just the long term, people who just keep showing up to the gym, they're probably just going to be generally healthier and more sound of mind over the long run, right? Like we both know people who were really strong at one point, and then they've stopped doing everything, and they look older, they feel even shittier, and it would have just been nice for them to just keep doing something physical, right? But like that's the human mind is tricky, right? That it's not worth it to them in some way, shape, or form, right? How has your programming, has your coaching evolved since you started like coaching? How long have you been coaching?
I took like my first ever client, and again, I was doing this for free, like probably 2017.
Yeah, so like almost 10 years of coaching. Like what's changed or what's evolved in that time for you?
I would say biggest thing, that's a very broad question, but I'll try to find some main ones. I would say the biggest thing is just like the value of meeting your client where they're at from a communication standpoint is probably one of the biggest things. Not every client that comes through my door wants the same goals as I do for them, theoretically. Like maybe I have my own selfish goals, like, hey, I want you to get to here, whatever. But you got to meet the client with what they're willing to do, right? And I think that's the biggest component is like good communication. I think the other one is like obviously like listening related to communication. Like sometimes you just gotta shut up and ask questions. And I think I didn't ask as many questions when I was a younger coach. It was kind of like, oh, here's the videos. Okay, looks good, man. Like everything's great. Let's keep it going, or I'll critique the shit out of their lives, right? Whereas now it's like, hey, like how'd this training day feel for you? How'd this block feel for you? Do you feel like we're on the right track? Or like just asking those subjective questions I find really does help a lot. And learning that like coaching is an art, right? I think that's like one of the biggest things I've learned. And then I would say the second one would be like just everything's a tool, right? Like a new programming strategy is a tool for a specific person. A different type of communication is a tool. How you approach an injury is a tool. Like you have different tools, right? You could look at like obviously load management from like straight up sets reps. You could look at load management from biomechanics. You could look at their life stressors, like everything together, and know that it's all encompassing. And then I think knowing that you have those tools, you apply the right tool for the right person, and that leads to some good things usually. So I'd say like those are kind of like the two main ones I would say. Yeah.
What tools? I'm curious to hear what tools recently you have evolved or incorporated, like
Well, for like rehab.
anything new or insightful out of you from because this is like the thing, like good programming, like dude, all right, if you saw like a good program, let's talk about for powerlifting. If you saw like two programs, like one of them's good, one of them's like you could distinguish those two things pretty quickly, right? Now there is an element of like who's the person that this program is being implemented on, right? But there's still some amount of like, I've kind of created this like framework in my brain of like, okay, you have the person and their preferences, right, in their current like state, right? There's always these principles, and then is this like progressible, right? Like, and first and foremost, if the program doesn't look progressible, it's like we're screwed. Like this isn't going to be good, right? Like it's just, it's like I had somebody recently. She's a cool lady. She's like, I want to get stronger, and I just feel like the stuff I'm doing. Well, she kind of had been like no bro'd into like doing like all these like breathing and bracing and like low level things like to combat like injuries. And I'm like, yeah, you just actually need to like do some hard stuff and not be so afraid. And that doesn't mean it needs to be heavy right away. It just means you actually like need to hinge, you need to squat in some capacity and like start rebuilding your confidence. Because she basically she was like told like her body's jacked, right? And that to some degree, me and you have talked about this I think in the past, like biomechanics matter, right? But there's still an element of like, yeah, you can still like move and create your individual movement patterns that are still efficient and still good, right? Based on like your leverages and your body, right? So anyway, I ranted there, but what are your thoughts?
So the question's like, how do I know what's a good program versus like a quote unquote bad program?
Yeah.
I would say the biggest thing is like one, obviously like the lifter, right? Like what is their bottlenecks? Like what do they need to work on, right? Is it a skill problem? Is it a work capacity problem? Is it they lack muscle? Like you have to know what the bottleneck of the client is, and then from there you apply the principles, right? Like I have had clients where it's like if they're a high level powerlifter, like yeah, that program really does matter because it has to be specific. It has to be very individualized and tailored to them when they're actually advanced. But like for example, I started coaching like a girl that's like a brand new PT. Like she does PT, but for like women's kind of strength training. But she's never lifted a barbell. Like she's very much just like does dumbbells and whatever. And she wanted to get into powerlifting. Her program is like super simple, dude. Like we push, we pull, we hinge, and we do accessory movements to build capacity in her movement qualities. Periodization does not matter for her.
Yeah.
She needs to progressively overload and run a linear program to get better each week, and she's learning each week. Her program, she doesn't need to bench 4 days a week. She benches like I think twice a week, and like she squats once a week, and then she'll deadlift once a week. Why? Because like we don't need to go high frequency. There's no need for it. Like we're just introducing her to a program to see if she even likes it, and then from there, once she maybe gets a bit more into it, then we go to the next phase. But the biggest thing is like program writing is just creative, which is why I love it. It's just a creative problem solving. All I do is like there's a girl that I talked about before. Like I had a girl plateaued on a bench press. She had like a 90 kilo bench press. We got her to 100 kilos in 8 months, which is like pretty freaking good. Like that's a sick awesome bench press. But the program I wrote for her was insane. Like 78 to 80 reps a week of bench press. Like 4 days a week of bench press. She was touching 85% every single session for like sets of 5, sets of 4, like really heavy. And she was recovering each workout. And all I did is I put the program in. I ran E1 or M correlation on indicator sets, like which essentially is like I give her a top set once a week. I use E1 or M calculator just to get the trend right. And all I do is I write a program. I look at the trend. Oh, keeps going up, keeps going up, keeps going up, keeps going up. Okay, good. We're good. Yeah. I don't need to find causation. I don't really care to be honest. Like with any program you're writing, just run the correlation. Because like whether we want a narrative or not, I think your client wants to get better. Yeah. So like that's why with program, I view programming personally as just stimulus. Can you adapt to the stimulus? Once you adapt to the stimulus, you're probably going to get stronger. So we could talk about this microcycle timing, all this like fancy stuff. At the end of the day, like I give them a stimulus. If they recover fast, I give them more stimulus. And then I adjust the stimulus based on what they respond best to, which could be intensity based, could be volume, could be a mix of both. Maybe they just need high frequency because they need to practice. I don't know. Like you kind of just, you got to mess it around. So when it's like good program versus bad program, it's kind of like, I need to see the metrics of the lifter. I need to see how they move. And I also have to see like, what are their goals? Are their goals even to be a high level lifter, or are they literally just to like get into powerlifting?
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, you like that was beautiful. I'm glad you mentioned the creativity piece, because I think that's one thing I get a lot of people like to be honest, a lot of like physios who are like, what is like the programming piece, and that there's this like, it's this FOMO or this expectation that there's some freaking perfect magical recipe out there, and I'm like, no, it's like, it's pretty much what you said. Can the person adapt to the stimulus that you're giving them? And is the stimulus driving the performance that person wants, right? And, I also think, dude, there's like just an element of powerlifting. I just see that people, it's tricky not to stay in this really specific circle of like, this is what you do as a powerlifter. And like, to some degree, and you can agree or disagree with me on this, it's like, sometimes we just need to get outside of the powerlifting bubble a little bit and just do some good fucking training, like doing some jumps and some plyos, like, or just a little bit of movement variability. It doesn't mean there's going to be very much of that. It just means like, I know we've talked in the past about like biking and recreational sports, like, like doing some other stuff is good for your brain, and it's probably pretty good for your body. Now, you do want to, powerlifting is a very specific output oriented sport, so it's like you got to be driving most of what you're doing in that direction, but like also like doing powerlifting 365 days a year and regulating it well, like, meaning like doing powerlifting training for the whole year and doing it well without like beating yourself up or burning yourself out, I think is very tricky. And I think sometimes just implementing these other elements of like, yeah, this is just like good general training for right now, it's still helping you in the grand scheme of things, right? Because a lot of people, I don't know how you feel about this, a lot of people don't want to take like a month off or even like 2 weeks off. They want to like get right back into it, right? They had that, if they do the meet, they're like, I want to get right back into it and keep going. And it's like, I almost, in those phases, I'm like, all right, we're going to like keep you going, but it's going to be like really chill training or very different training. What are your thoughts on that? Or what do you try to do with people?
I ask them questions. Like I literally ask them, hey, like how are you feeling after this meet prep? Like I had a lifter, she's competing this weekend, and I had a conversation with her, hey, like next week, like do you want to run a structured program? And she goes, well, like I'm like going to travel to go see like my family, because she's going out of town to travel or whatever. And I was like, okay, like what would you like? She goes, well, I'd like some structure, but I do want it to be a bit more laid back. So I was like, okay, like what about 3 days no equipment? Because I didn't want her to like bring her equipment. She goes, no, it sounds great. And if she said, yo, I want a whole week off, or I want 2 weeks off, or I want a month of like very bodybuilding-esque training, like very away from specificity, just lean into it. You have to lean into what the lifter wants to an extent. Obviously, you have to keep in mind like when is the next competition. That is a component of it. But you also have to look at like the athlete psychology, what's going to allow them not to burn out. And like to be fair, like sometimes people like think that just doing the same thing is going to lead to burnout, and it can. But dude, some people are just wired differently.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good point.
And if your lifter is like super like, they just want to keep going with it, and like there's no sense of burnout, they're so excited, like you kind of got to lean in on that excitement. You definitely should scale back the intensity and the volume for a little bit, but like if they're really motivated, you got to kind of lean in on that, right? Whereas if post comp they're super demotivated, then obviously like psychologically probably worth taking a little bit of a back seat, right? Yeah. And I had the same thing with another client. She like finished a powerlifting meet. She kind of want to do like a high rocks race. So I was like, okay, let's prep for a high rocks race, and we're doing a high rocks race. And her powerlifting is down the drain, honestly. To be honest, not in a rude way, but like her strength has gone down because we reduced frequency, we adjusted things, we have her doing a lot more conditioning. And then I had a conversation with her, and she's like, honestly, like I really do enjoy this. Like I like my powerlifting, but I also like my cardio and my high rocks. So okay, I was like, how about we do powerlifting during the winter, because winter in Canada is pretty disgusting. Like you don't really want to go outside anyway. So I was like, why don't we just do strength training based from September to whatever, like February. And then from February to whatever, or sorry, like March or April until the end of the summer, why don't we just do a bit more of like a hybrid approach where we down regulate the strength training, we give it a bit of hybrid work, And that allows you to have fun and feel athletic and feel the way she wants to feel. It's not my goals, man. Like, I don't care what her goals are. I want to keep her engaged in physical activity. So it's like, for me, it's like, let's lean in on that. She's excited. Why don't I lean in on that? But to be fair, if she goes to me, hey, I want to compete at nationals, I'm like, yeah, like, you kind of got to pick.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't want it. You don't want it bad enough, and that's okay. And it's not even like a diss. You don't want it bad enough or any like toxic shit. But it's like, at the end of the day, like, if she doesn't feel like it's worth it, then we don't need to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that deep.
I'm 100% with you. You have to meet people where they're at, but you also, as a part of being a coach is being like, all right, like, what are your expectations here? Or like, how good are you, right? Are you Tia Claire Toomey or whatever her name is, the CrossFit lady that can like literally win a CrossFit competition and be that good at Olympic lifting as well? Like, if you are, the signs are gonna point that direction pretty quick, right? Whereas one of my clients, her name's Rebecca. She posts a lot on her story. She loves powerlifting. She loves the gym. She also loves Olympic lifting, and some of it is, or she's loving like just learning more of it. And I'm like, well, you can do both. Like, there are people on the Instagram spheres that are like, I had to choose. I'm like, yeah, they probably had to choose when it was like there was a true decision point of like, if I want to be the best powerlifter I can be, I gotta go all in on powerlifting, right? Or if I want to be the best Olympic weightlifter, I need to go in on Olympic weightlifting. But like, there is also just a pretty big sphere of overlap that like you can kind of lean into for a period of time. And it's the same with a lot of this stuff. Also, just the seasons approach to a lot of things in life works really freaking well. Like, it's just, you have to be able to kind of switch gears, which I think is also a little tricky for people. But the literal seasons make it easier, right? Like, when it's nicer outside, you're just more likely to want to go for a run, and that's cool, right? When it's colder and like, you just got to get yourself to the gym and keep moving. The other thing, dude, I think you are a good indicator of this. Like, you're not always gonna want to freaking go. Like, you're not always gonna want to be there. But once you do the thing, and it kind of the ebbs and flows come back around, right? And some of that's true, regulating yourself, but some of it's just keep showing up and like take what's there and see what happens, right?
Well, and some people also they just want, it sounds weird, but like, they want all the benefit without the drawback, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like, if you want to be an amazing powerlifter, like, you're gonna have to sacrifice. I don't give a crap what people say. Like, and nowadays with powerlifting, it's no longer a hobbyist sport. Like, it isn't. If you want to compete at the highest level, it's not a hobby. It's a job. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It can be a good job for people. They enjoy it. They get addicted to it. They love getting better. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like saying, oh, I want to make a certain amount of revenue in my business, but I don't want to work more than 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like, we like, something's got to give, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have both, right? Like, if you want to make less money and have more time, that's amazing. And you have to define what success is to you. And maybe success to someone else is staying physically active, having a balanced lifestyle, being able to do a lot of different things, being a hybrid person, being able to have all these athletic qualities. But at the end of the day, like, it's what success is for you. That's why I don't like when people say, well, success is hitting this revenue number or this whatever, this like total or this placement. It's like, it's what is success for you? What do you feel inspired to be? Because at the end of the day, when you hit the grave, like, no one's really going to remember you that much. So like, you may as well do what you wanted to do or what makes life feel fulfilling to you. And if you feel fulfilled, that's great. And some people, they don't feel fulfilled if they are hobby hopping. Some people don't. But some people are the complete opposite. They feel that hobby hopping, new experiences, and constantly challenging them, that's a way to elicit their fulfillment. So again, it all comes down to like meeting the client where they're at, having those real conversations and saying, what do you want currently? What are your goals? How can we keep you consistent? And then from there, like, be able to shell out the cognitive dissonance. Like, if a client comes to me and they go, hey, I want to hit this X goal, and then 6 months later we revisit that goal changed, there's nothing wrong with it. We just need to revisit and have our honest why. Like, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do this? Is this going to be worth it to you? Are you willing to do the trade-offs required to do so? Like, if you want to be a good powerlifter, are you going to track your macros? Are you going to train consistently? Are you going to, when you're on vacation, are you still going to train? Or whatever, like all these like little like negotiables that you can kind of look into. You just gotta figure out what your client wants and what they need. Like, that is the inevitable of it. And that's the same thing with your programming. You want the best program? Well, I need to make sure that my clients like the program. Yeah. Like, constantly will ask them, hey, how's the program? And a lot of my new clients that started, not new, but like post nationals, they started their training programs. They're like, man, I'm loving the pumps, loving the workouts. It's like amazing. They're bought in.
Yeah.
Like that is the key, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a really good point. How are your other hobbies going? And I know you got into coffee. I see your espresso maker back there. What other hobbies have you been cultivating?
Currently, not too much, honestly. The winter in Canada is just so tough. Like, we're getting past that season of it, but right now it's like coffee. I do a little bit of photography, but I haven't been very consistent. I started trying to learn how to, through an app, I'm trying to learn how to speak Spanish, so that's been interesting. I'm only like a month in, and I honestly have been consistent the last few weeks just because of the nightmare of what's been going on, like in terms of like nationals and coaching, but learning some new languages, kind of planning our next few trips for traveling, stuff like that we want to do now that I'm more well off, I guess, financially, because when I was a student, couldn't really afford to leave the country, but now I can, so it's kind of nice. Other than that, I'm excited to start hiking more, because again, the winter is a lot nice. Winter is pretty harsh here, but the summers, I'm excited for it to come by, and yeah, that's pretty much it, honestly.
How do you, how do you gauge, what is fulfilling? Okay, this is where this question is going. I honestly think a lot of life is actually really freaking boring, right? Like, I think real day-to-day life for just about anybody is actually, it becomes boring, right? We get kind of addicted to, and it's not bad. Like, novelty is great, right? Even, again, my little boy, like, everything is new. And it's almost like seeing the world through a different set of eyes, which is kind of cool. But, I think, like, business, dude, the real fundamentals of, like, what's going to allow me to make money and support my family is really boring shit. Like, it's like, hey, post content, have conversations, create some form of, like, free value that people can see and then want to work with me or whatever, right? And then fulfill to clients, which I do really enjoy. But also, dude, when you're sitting down and you're like writing programs for like 40 to 50 people, you're like, you got to like break it up. You got to reward yourself and XYZ, right? Training is fun for me, but it's also like, to go back to it, it's like today I'm sore and it's like a little frustrating. It's like, all right, I'm still going to go get warmed up and do XYZ. But like, how do you navigate the boredom, right? How do you keep yourself going despite, because I think this is what the trap that a lot of people get into is they're constantly searching for the flash. They're constantly wondering if the grass is greener on the other side, right? And it doesn't mean you never go and experience novelty or XYZ. It just means, like, travel is a great one, dude. Like, whenever me and my wife have a trip booked, like, and on the docket, it's like we have something to look forward to, right? And that's good, right? So, but, like, how do you navigate that, or how do you think about that?
I'm still currently navigating that, to be honest. Like, it's a great question. I think I have a solution to it. It's about me implementing that solution. But I think the biggest thing is just like, I'm also, don't want to say I've given up on like future casting like life and like what it's going to look like, but I'm just tired of it. Because whenever I plan things ahead of time, it'll never work out the way you want it to. Like, it just doesn't, right? But what I can do is like, I could take each day that I have currently and how can I make it the best day ever that, might be some boring work involved in there, but how do I make it the most fun, right? And most enjoyable and most productive and make me feel fulfilled. So like for me, it's like, okay, can I get outside? Can I get a little active? Can I program my best for my clients, put the best foot forward for them? Can I build my business slowly but surely every day? Can I, cook good meals and like, I don't know, spend time with my partner? And like, if I could do a day like that, like every day, like it's I think it's a good day. Like, I think like I'm not trapped in a no offense to corporate, but I'm not trapped in a corporate office. So I have to have a lot of flexibility and I love it. Like, it's great. Sometimes obviously with business, your brain constantly just like starts going, but learning to shut that off is important. But just, I think just having a routine and not really I actually love not knowing what the next 10 years are going to look like. Like, I literally have no idea. Like, it could be, I could have a child, I could have a dog, I could have a house, I could still live in an apartment. I don't know. Like, it's what life is, what some of the decisions happen, right? So I'm not a huge fan of like planning, I think, is one of the biggest ones. I think having a plan is good, but I'm trying to really just take it like day by day.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. I'm reading this book called The Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth. It's by Chris Hadfield. He's a Canadian astronaut. So, but like, a lot of the book is like, you need to be prepared, and you know, having a plan is good, but also like it never goes to plan, right? It's like, well, things do go to plan, but the things that do go to plan are like the day, right? And even in the day, dude, this has been the biggest lesson for me. I'm not a patient person. A little boy and a wife, they will make me try. I have to work on my patience, right? When it was just my wife, like, you know, it'd be a little frustrating, but I could always like go do something to like kind of manage that. Like, it takes my wife longer to get ready to go do something than it does me, right? Well, the little boy, like, it's like he doesn't give shit, right? Neither does my wife, right? So it's just life. It's cliche, but like life kind of gives you what you need if you keep open to that, right? And you know, it's the same with powerlifting. Like, you could feel it, dude. How many times have you gone in being like, I'm gonna have a fucking great day today, and then it was a shit day? And how many times have you gone in being like, and you know, sometimes you do have, it's gonna be a great day, and it was a good day, right? But then how many times you go in and you're like, I'm not feeling amazing, and then you start warming up, and you actually perform pretty well, right? Like, it's kind of like that. You just got to take what you can every day and make the best of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, I mean, a question for you, for example, and I relate this to like business, like, let's just say 5 years ago, Dave, like, if you were to predict where you are now, is this where you thought you would be?
Dude, I've like, my podcast doesn't drive my business per se, but you're like episode 92, dude. Like, which is kind of wild, right? I make good money, and I honestly, like, we're gonna be done at 3:00 today, and I guess my neighbor girl comes and trains at 3:30, so I guess I have that appointment for 30 minutes. But then we're gonna go to the kids museum, and we're gonna dink around, and we're gonna eat Chick-fil-A, and we're gonna have a good Friday night, right? And that's all I really want, like, for my Fridays. Like, we've talked about cars in the past. I drive a Toyota Camry. It's 10 years old. I'm gonna drive that thing till it's freaking dead. I could go buy a new car. Like, I could go get some of this stuff. And some of it is that for me. Like, that's what business is about for me. It's like, I just don't want to have to worry about a car payment. Or I don't want to have to worry about if my car breaks down, I can pay for it. Or I want to be able to put money into my savings without feeling like I'm being held back in life, type of thing. But also, dude, I also think this. Some of life is just being disciplined in ways that will benefit you in the long term, right? And I think that's one of the hard parts about it is, you know, I talk to people all the time, and it's like they're trying to lose weight, or they're trying to get fit, or XYZ, but it's like, you know, they kind of, like you said earlier, they want it all without the sacrifice, or they want business without it being stressful. And I'm like, dude, business is stressful. Even if it's working pretty well, it's gonna be stressful. You're gonna have times where, you know, it's way better. I love my work way better than I would at like a corporate job per se. But also the benefit of a corporate job is you go to work and then you leave, right? And for the most part, you don't have to worry about shit when you leave. Like, and I just don't get that anymore. So, to answer your question, like 5 years ago, if you would have said, like, I'd be talking to Ian Seguin in my basement doing a podcast and that's part of my work day, I'd be like, no way. I have a podcast, but, you know, like, or I have a house. Like, these are all the things you wish for, right? And like, even though this podcast will get like 20 views and, you know, some downloads on Spotify, who cares? It's still dope, right?
I mean, that's 20 listeners that you would have never had, right? And
yeah.
They get to know who you are. Like, even if you have a podcast with like 30 listeners, just theoretically, like, it's still more than none. Like,
yeah.
And those are engaged listeners. Like, if someone's willing to sit down and listen to this whole podcast, I commend you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
But like, at the end of the day, it's a good conversation, and I think it gets us out of the whole IG fast dopamine hit of just like here's the fix, here's this. Like, here's a real conversation of like how I'm navigating my stuff, how you're navigating your stuff, and like that's the real shit, and that's why I like podcasts, because it's just unfiltered. Like, it is what it is. This is the current situation. This is our thoughts on things from a long form content, and if someone can listen to it on a walk rather than just doom scrolling their IG reels, like, oh, there's no hook, I guess I'm not going to listen to this. Like,
dude, yeah, right. So. Well, it's just, I think this is one of the other things. Like, the more we get to like what it's like to actually live life, like social media is not real life, dude. My Facebook is insane. I only just go on there to say happy birthday to people, but I get hooked into political stuff so fast, right? And I'm like, this is such clickbaity shit, right? It's just not real, and Instagram's not real. Like, I do try to put out content that is authentic to me, right? But it's still like a highlight reel. It's still like, you know, it's not me like feeling like dog crap in the morning, like waking up, moving around slow, like taking my dog out for a walk, trying to get loosened up, XYZ. It's like, but yeah, it's the more we get towards the real, the better things are, right? So, all right, man, where do people find you?
Ian_adaptive.sp on Instagram.
Yeah,
I'll link it.
You got it.
Can link my website as well, Adaptive Strength and Performance, if you're looking for powerlifting coaching or any type of like consultation I offer as well. If you just want to pick my brain, you can do that. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Man, I appreciate you. Ian's a good coach. I know that from personal. You know, Ian is a good coach, good guy. Check him out. Appreciate you being here, Ian, and I'll link those in the show notes. Peace, everybody.